Welcome to this explainer. Right now, we're unpacking some truly massive structural shifts that are actively reshaping federal employment. We're going to jump right into a rapidly changing timeline today, moving from a recent peak where remote-friendly policies dominated, straight into the impending, frankly massive structural overhauls slated for 2026. If you follow public sector operations, you know exactly how critical this transition is, and well, we've got the data to break it all down for you.
Okay, looking at our roadmap for today, we're covering the federal remote reality, the 2025 RTO mandate, the 2026 management agenda, and finally, navigating the new normal. Let's just dive right in. So let's start with the staggering figure, 207,710. As of June 2024, that is the exact number of federal employees who are working entirely remotely across 24 different agencies. To put that into perspective, that made up a solid 9% of their total civilian workforce. So remote work wasn't just some fringe benefit. It had become a core, foundational component of how the government actually operated.
And this wasn't just a centralized workforce either. According to the hard data from the GAO establishing our baseline, these weren't just Beltway insiders hanging out in D.C. This remote workforce was spread across all 50 states and sitting in 84% of all U.S. counties. It was a genuinely national workforce distribution.
Moving to Section 1, the federal remote reality, specifically looking at recruitment and retention. Now, what's a real game changer here is this specific number, 366. When OPM looked at the data, the recruitment power of remote work became absolutely undeniable. On average, a single remote job announcement was pulling in an incredible 366 applications. Just compare that massive haul to non-remote jobs, which, brought in just 51 applications for similar positions. I mean, for agencies trying to fill highly competitive, mission-critical roles, offering remote work was basically the ultimate recruitment cheat code. Agencies with a higher percentage of remote announcements were just far more likely to actually hit their hiring goals.
But, as we know, things change. That brings us to Section 2, the 2025 RTO mandate, and the sudden policy shift.
So to really understand this transition, we got to trace this rapid timeline. We go from 2020, where limited remote work expanded as a pandemic response, into 2021, where agencies actively leaned into it to boost recruitment and cut real estate costs. But then, bam, January 2025, a sweeping presidential directive comes down, mandating that all employees must return to physical agency locations full-time.
Now, while that mandate is undeniably strict, subsequent guidance did allow for a few very specific exceptions. We're talking military and foreign service spouses, folks with qualifying medical conditions, and other kind of vaguely defined compelling reasons. At the same time, OPM went ahead and canceled previous guidance that had originally required agencies to formally assess remote work's overall benefits to their mission. The immediate operational impact of this mandate was, frankly, massive. Agencies had to suddenly slam the brakes on previously planned office space reductions. Anyone who's tried to get out of a lease knows it's a headache. Now imagine doing that for millions of square feet of federal real estate overnight. Agencies had to completely reassess their physical footprint to handle this sudden influx of returning workers.
Okay, let's transition into Section 3, the 2026 management agenda and its structural overhauls.
To really wrap our heads around the scale of these structural changes, which are being framed around efficiency and modernization, we absolutely have to define Schedule F. OPM estimates up to 50,000 career positions could be moved into this new schedule policy/career classification. Legal experts point out that this bureaucratic move significantly weakens traditional civil service protections, totally altering the climate for career staff.
And compounding that reclassification is this stark new mathematical reality for staffing, a 4-to-1 ratio. According to the analysis, until new annual staffing plans are formally approved, agencies must see 4 employees leave before 1 new hire comes in. It's a structure that is quite literally designed to physically shrink the federal workforce.
But wait, it's not just about how many people are hired, it's about how that single new hire is chosen. Those decisions are moving to strategic hiring committees, which are often chaired by political leadership. With this highly centralized, targeted approach, the immediate takeaway for teams on the ground is simple. Do not expect workload relief just because a hiring freeze ends. Broad workforce refills, they're just highly unlikely under this new model.
And this brings up a really critical concern, highlighted by legal analysis from the Federal Employee Survival blog. Because applicant assessments are increasingly tied to how well they'll support administration priorities, they note that caution is seriously warranted if hiring or advancement conversations start sounding more like loyalty tests than your traditional discussions about merit and skill.
So what does this all mean for the people on the ground? Let's get into our final section, navigating the new normal, with some practical takeaways.
Since OPM is pushing for faster removal of so-called poor performers, legal experts are heavily advising a very grounded, practical approach to protect your career. Step 1, you absolutely must know your performance elements. Step 2, get your priorities clearly in writing. And Step 3, maintain a clean, lawful record of your deliverables. Basically, you want to build a factual, airtight paper trail. This all builds into a broader defensive strategy. As the experts point out, proactive clarity is literally your best armor when navigating sudden changes in performance appraisals. Actually, scratch that, it's more than armor, it's your roadmap. When expectations suddenly shift or standards tighten without any explanation, that is the exact moment you need to seek guidance, long before any formal discipline shows up.
Ultimately, surviving this volatile period really comes down to grounded strategies. Anchor yourself to mission competence, professionalism, and the Constitution, rather than any partisan alignment. Stay plugged in on shifting policies, document your work meticulously, and respond early to any warning signs. That's how you preserve your options right now.
To wrap up this explainer, we really have to step back and look at the whole shebang. The data clearly shows a government in the middle of a massive, rapid transition. But with the shrinking workforce and altered civil service protections, how will these rapid structural changes ultimately impact the daily delivery of government services to everyday citizens? It's a profound question and one that only time and more data will answer. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.